My earliest memory of dealing with waste isn't glamorous. It's actually sticky. You know the kind of sticky when your sneaker hesitates with every step, almost like the floor is trying to keep you there? It's me, a young girl behind the grocery store, surrounded by the sounds of clinking glass bottles and that sweet smell of old soda syrup. Every weekend, my parents would take us to this makeshift recycling center right behind the grocery store to sort our bottles and cans. At the time, I thought it was just a chore. But now I know I was in training to become my family's first chief sustainability officer. I was that 8-year-old that bought recycling bins for every room in the house because it drove me crazy to throw away things that were so clearly recyclable. Today, I'm still that person, saving every plastic bag. If there's a trash cleanup happening in New York City, I'm there. You could say I'm obsessed with reducing waste. But that obsession comes from one truth I can't ignore. We are living in a waste crisis, and at the center of it is food. In the US, we waste about 40% of our food. 40%. That's almost like making 2 dinners and then throwing one straight into the trash. And most of that wasted food ends up in landfills, where it rots. And as it does, it releases methane, one of the most powerful greenhouse gases on this planet, responsible for so many of the changes we're already feeling, like those record-shattering heat waves. Landfills are now the 3rd largest source of methane in this country, right behind oil and gas and agriculture. So when we talk about climate change, it's not just about electric vehicles and solar panels, though they are incredibly important. It's about something much simpler. It's about the food we waste. It's a decision we make 3 times per day, every time we eat. And we all waste food. The average American wastes about $3,000 every year on food that we waste. So that means all of you waste food too. But it doesn't have to be this way. Let's take a look at some of the places around the world that are doing it right. In the 1990s, South Korea's landfills were filling up years ahead of schedule. The government was facing growing public anger over food scraps piling up in the streets. So, in 2005, South Korea made a bold move. They said, that's it. No more food in landfills. And that inspired innovation overnight. Every neighborhood got collection bins. Those collection bins eventually turned into smart bins that weighed food scraps and charged a few cents. Families learned that a couple of spoonfuls of wasted rice could literally cost them. So people began buying and cooking only what they needed. Today, South Korea recycles 95% of its food waste, turns it into compost, animal feed, or energy. Another place that's doing it right is Italy. For Italians, food is identity. Food waste isn't just environmental, it's almost moral. But by the early 2000s, food waste surged as industrial food production grew. Then, in 2008, came the financial crisis. Families were struggling to put food on the table while stores were literally throwing it away. So in 2016, Italy passed a national law that made it easier for businesses to donate their food. And because culture was on their side with traditions like la cucina povera, the poor kitchen, where every food scrap gets turned into a meal, Italians embraced it. Walk around Milan late at night, and you'll see volunteers loading trays of uneaten lasagna into these small vans bound for community kitchens. Today, Italy wastes less food per person than almost every other country in Europe. And that's because policy met culture halfway. And here in the US, guess where one of the most exciting examples is? Guess. Okay, I heard it. It's Massachusetts. You all get bragging rights. When facing similar issues to Italy and South Korea, in 2014, Massachusetts implemented a food waste diversion policy that prevented large businesses and institutions from throwing away food. That one policy unlocked a wave of innovation. Universities like this one, MIT, began composting their dining hall scraps. Supermarkets partnered with food banks to donate their surplus food. And a new green economy emerged. Compost haulers, anaerobic digestion facilities, logistics companies, all working together to turn waste into value. Now, the state diverts hundreds of thousands of tons of food waste from landfills every single year. Massachusetts saw food waste for what it truly is. Not garbage, but opportunity. It turns out Massachusetts is wicked smart on food. So, what connects South Korea, Italy, and Massachusetts? They all started with overflowing landfills, rising costs, public frustration. And each answered with one simple rule: food doesn't belong in landfills. Now, notice what they didn't do. They didn't prescribe exactly how to fix it. They didn't create massive bureaucracies. They just set the boundary. And they trusted innovation to fill the gap. And it did. Businesses began donating their surplus food because it became easier and cheaper than disposal. Cities started recycling their food scraps because there was infrastructure to do it. Farmers enriched their soils with compost that was abundant. And people got clever about how to make their food last. This is the power of food waste diversion policies. Right now, 11 states, from California to Maine, have a food waste diversion policy in place. But imagine if all 50 states made this commitment. Imagine if every country did. We could feed millions, save billions, cut methane emissions, create jobs, and extend landfill life for decades. What we need now is the courage and coordination to act. So when I think back about that little girl behind the grocery store, I know now I wasn't just learning about recycling. I was learning about value, about what we choose to throw away and what we choose to save. Every time we keep food out of landfills, we're not just reducing emissions. We're honoring farmers' work. We're respecting community resilience, and we're protecting planetary resources. We're saying food matters. So here's my ask to you. First, contact your state representatives. Tell them you support food waste diversion policies. Second, ask your employer, your school, your place of worship what they are doing about food waste. Create demand for action. And third, at home, start small. Plan your meals, store your food properly, compost. And when you start to waste less, tell people why. Make it contagious. Because cultural change doesn't start with everyone, it starts with someone. The question isn't, are we going to solve this? The question is, will we? Thank you.